Hi there, folks. This is Michael Roberts for Beach Music TV and your favorite Let's Talk Live segment. Today we have a special treat. We're going to the state of Texas, if I remember correctly, and our guest is Alex Myers, one of the video DJs that we have in our stable of DJs. And good morning, Alex. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, Mike. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Um, so people don't know exactly where you are, Alex. So if you'll tell us where you are and when you are on Beach Music TV.
Okay, I am living in Laredo, Texas. We are a border town. I live exactly 7 miles away from the Rio Grande, or Mexico, you might like to say. And I am the host of a program called Sunday Night Doo-Wop and More. I broadcast on Beach Music TV every Sunday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And formatically speaking, what I do is I play vocal group harmony, or what some people like to refer as doo-wop, and I also mix some of that music with vocal performances, be it a Sam Cooke or a Jackie Wilson, music that fits within the realm of vocal group harmony because of its quality and its melody. And I play the hits, but I also play rare sides, B-sides. So I try to make it a journey of sorts and keep it interesting from week to week by changing out that playlist.
Okay, the question that first pops in my mind, and I'm
Yes, sir.
sure our viewing audience is going to have the same thought. Are you playing vinyl? Are you doing it digital? Or are you doing a hybrid?
I play all digital. Some of my sources are straight digital from CDs. Others are dubs from best possible 45s because a lot of this older music has never been transferred to the digital domain for any number of reasons, legal reasons, or maybe no one's bothered to take that 45 and remaster it to its best possible quality. So I'm reaching in many, many directions to perhaps find music that people have never heard. People who grew up in the doo-wop era. I've always said, just when you think you've heard everything, you actually missed something along the way. Maybe your local radio station didn't play it. I'm going way out on this question, but I just find it so fascinating to operate in this realm of music in terms of broadcast because there's always a learning curve in it for me. I'm always finding something that I didn't hear the first time around.
Do you interact with your audience?
Not so much right now, because I have a chat room. I'm actually simulcasting. Is it all right if I talk about that?
That's absolutely wonderful.
Okay, I'm sort of limited in what I have on my desk here, equipment wise. My Beach Music TV broadcast is part of a simulcast. I work with RememberThenRadio.com, where the show is also broadcast. There's a chat room there. Unfortunately, I don't have two screens to operate two chat rooms. It's a long story, but we are aware that people are also watching the stream on Beach Music TV. And while we're at this juncture, I want to thank you and Tom and Rocco for inviting me and one of my fellow DJs to jump aboard to experience this wonderful new world of sharing music and being able to reach out to people who are like-minded. And it's an opportunity to do something very different. I love doing this just as you do.
Well, let's cross promote. Tell people who the other person is that we brought on board with you.
Okay, the other gentleman's name is Peppy, and he has a show called Peppy's Music Memories. Now,
Yes, he does.
he loves vocal group harmony, but his show is more of a mixture of vocal group harmony, the Philly sound, early Motown, which has a lot of doo-wop roots in it, and a lot of unique songs from his years in Pennsylvania, living in Pennsylvania. So he's got this wonderful array of a lot of romantic music, balladry, some soul music, and I'll plug his show. He's got a show on from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Monday through Friday, as a matter of fact, coming up in a few hours on Beach Music TV. So you can also enjoy him streaming his music on this
Right.
channel. Yes,
He's quite a card too. He really
yes,
has a good sense of humor, and he relates very well to the public, and he's uh he's very well thought of. Um,
yes,
you know,
absolutely.
with the public does know that we have recently uh, I'm still an owner of Beach Music TV, and we have changed that Tommy is no longer an owner of Beach Music TV, and
Right.
his position has switched over to Rock Hall, and Rock is really into the music, and so I think we're going to see uh, some improvements in a lot of areas that will help us, particularly in
Yes.
the area of analytics. And we're already getting analytics on Beach Music TV, which we hadn't been able to get before. And
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm personally really excited about that because it will give us an idea of who are our strong people. And, we already have a good idea just from watching the programs ourselves.
Yes,
Although
sir.
I have to admit, I am pretty biased when it comes to a lot of the music. I can't really be honest about it uh, because like in your case, you play the doo-wop, and I
Yes, sir.
really have a thing for doo-wop because when I came into beach music per se, what I discovered was that um, doo-wop was a part of it as well as uh, just good old R&B. Place people like uh, Benny King and Muddy Waters and that genre. But by the same token, we were playing some of the famous doo-wop groups in our slower stuff because it's equally danceable,
Hmm.
not just to the shag, but to the different forms of swing dance, which shag is a form of swing dance for those of you that don't know. And so what you're doing just fills in, people go, well, what does doo-wop have to do with beach music? It's the roots of beach music. I mean, people don't understand that. We're here to educate them. So would you agree with what my commentary was right there?
Yeah, yes, I do. And depending on who you talk to and the definitions they apply to music, what I will say is all these things you've been talking about, by definition, they're all very melodic. For the most part, they're very well performed. Most of them become evergreens. And demographically speaking, okay, maybe there's an older audience. Every once in a while, we find younger people who are eager to delve into the music, but I can see where you're coming from, whether you're talking like BB King. For example, if I may say, one of my recent discoveries over the last couple of months, before BB King was known for songs like, let's say, The Thrill Is Gone, perhaps is well known, playing blues and jazz blues guitar. He, at one point in his career around 1963, he had BB King and his band, which is a completely different sound.
Yeah,
And having said that, he recorded a version of On My Word of Honor. The most popular version is by the Platters on the old Modern Records label. I don't know if you ever studied record labels like I did. They fascinate me. I love the artwork. It's just one of those little ticks that I have. And so I heard it and I had to get a copy of it. It's a wonderful rendition. It swings a little bit. I've never heard him sing that way. He's singing more like a soul singer in this record, but it's got a vocal group harmony sway to it. Um, but I think all of this music that we're discussing, they all have a lot of commonality.
yes,
I understand beach music is a term that came from one of the Carolinas. Am I correct?
that's right.
But what I've learned in this process, a lot of that beach music also became national music, hit music. Say something by Bill Deal and the Rondells, I've Been Hurt. That
Hmm.
was a big top 40 hit. When I was growing up, I never knew it was a beach music tune. So we can put labels on all this music, but at the end of the day, it's good music. And there's so many points where it can intertwine successfully. And what I love about the realm of internet radio and beach music TV now, this is still quite a challenge for me, and I'm loving every minute of it, is that we get to do something very unique. I personally try to offer something that maybe you won't find anywhere else because me, like millions of other people, grew up on homogenized, over-researched top 40 radio. I thank the old top 40 radio because that's where I gathered all my favorites, right? But now we could expand on that And just another point that I try to make with my audience, I could tell you sometimes when I'm in the middle of a show, I'll say, am I playing too many songs that people don't know? But then I remember my mission is to perhaps give people an opportunity to
That's
love a
right.
song they never had a chance to love before, right?
Yep.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
that's almost become my mantra. And if you look at any oldies universe, let's say you're locked into big band, 50s, 60s, 70s. If you're devoted to playing just that universe of music, if you look at the actual number of top hits, it's a very limited universe.
Yep.
So I think it's a wonderful challenge to go beyond the top 20. Just because it wasn't a hit doesn't mean it wasn't a good song.
I
I
took
worked
a,
at a terrestrial
I did
station
a,
where some of those 45s went into the trash can. Some of them are great.
yeah,
Yes.
I did a project year or so ago that involved looking at the top 100 songs from Billboard.
Hmm.
And I was astounded at the number of songs that, even though they were in the top 100, that I hadn't heard. And
Exactly.
you're talking to a guy who has a collection of pushing 600,000 tracks. Okay,
Wow.
individual tracks. Now, that started out as vinyl, and I'm one of those that I've progressed through vinyl. I've gone the mini disc, I've gone the CD.
Me too.
This you name every media that has been out there, I've
Yes,
done
sir.
it, and I've progressed, and now I have everything digitalized, and I've basically sold off all of my vinyl, but I still, if I go to a place that's new to me, I find out where there's an old record store, if there's still one around, and I will go in and I'll peruse their records and I'll buy them and I'll bring them back to my studio, play them one time, digitalize them while I'm playing it, because I think that the vinyl needs to be uh, saved. And I
Yes.
do have some friends, because vinyl is kind of making a resurgence, that
Yes.
are, even though they're playing digital stuff when they go to the dance clubs and stuff like that, uh,
Yes, sir.
they may have somebody that requests, would you play this, do a show for us that's nothing but vinyl? And so I'll have picked up something and say, if you like it, I'll sell it to you for what I bought it for. And so I swap out stuff that way, and it
Yeah.
works real well. But you mentioned that you did something with radio, and I was going to say it's pretty obvious that you have uh, a depth of knowledge about music that didn't come from just all of a sudden 10 years ago saying, I want to be a DJ. You've been in the DJ business for a while, I take it.
Well, it's hard to find a short answer to that, but I'll try. I mean, I grew up in a household full of music, not the typical household full of music where your mom plays a flute, your daddy plays a piano, but my father had an immense vinyl collection, and
Uh-huh.
he had an incredible spectrum of tastes. I mean, everything from Tahitian music to, I would rate his Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass collection. He had Ronnie Aldridge. He took me to see Ferrante and Teicher. I mean,
Oh,
classical music. So
Ronnie and Teicher, I hadn't heard their name in years. They're excellent.
Ferrante, remember Exodus and the theme from Apartment? I
Yep.
remember all these
Yep.
things because these albums were always stacked up on the turntable. So my journey started with my love of music. Now, I'm a baby boomer per se. So I grew up with the music of my time. That would be, just before, let's say 61 on. I owned the first 45 I owned. This is an interesting one. And I found it at my aunt's house and she gave it to me. The very first 45 that I owned was a copy of So Rare by the Jimmy Dorsey Orchestra.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Now that happened to be a major hit, and if you're a
Mm-hmm.
label guy, you'll remember it was on Fraternity Records. I even like the graphics on that thing. And there's a really neat story behind that. Jimmy was Tommy Dorsey's brother. Tommy criticized Jimmy, said, "That's a bomb. It's terrible. It's garbage." Tommy was wrong about that. It's also the theme to my show on Sunday nights. It's the song that plays before I turn my microphone on. That's what that song means to me. I didn't pick it randomly. It has significance because it is, in fact, the first 45 I ever owned.
That's
I don't,
something that the viewing audience, you should have brought up because that's important. Because
yeah,
when they
yeah,
see you, they'll understand what's going on with the big band sound.
that's the context.
Yeah.
And just a comment, to me, that record, it's one of those 45s that's very much one of a kind. There's no other record that sounds quite like it, at least for me, or maybe because I have personal feelings about it. But so my love of music has never waned. And I did work in terrestrial radio, my first job when I was about 13 years old, but I was hired to sweep the floors. They were waiting for my voice to drop. Once that happened, they said, guess what? You get the graveyard shift.
Yeah.
You know how that is. I couldn't care. I just wanted to be a disc jockey.
Hmm.
And I was lucky enough to work at an AM station that played adult contemporary music.
Hmm.
Uh, but we had probably 7 rows of albums. And I mean, this is really old school. The boss would say, come in 30 minutes before you go on the air, pick your albums, and you take your stack of albums. We had a rotation clock, and it would say, play something from this album or that album. But there was a lot of leeway. There were open areas on the clock. And if they felt we knew what the flow was, they would give us a certain amount of freedom. This is almost unheard of now if you're working for a commercial radio station, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
another beauty of doing this kind of internet radio, it's like you actually create a very unique playlist and you pray a little bit and hope that people enjoy it. So I've done terrestrial radio throughout my life. I've worked top 40. I worked in the 80s and 90s radio. I've worked country radio. And prior to being invited to Beach Music TV, I was already with Remember Then Radio for about 9 years. I think this is my 10th or 11th year in July, as a matter of fact.
With
And before
Steve.
that, I worked
Yeah.
for a couple of other internet radio stations that went out of business. And I've stayed with it. As far as the music goes, and I think this is a very important interlocking piece. So I grew up on my music, Casey Kasem's Top 40, but I discovered another world of music when that American Graffiti album came out back in 71, 72.
Hmm.
At the hop on it, it had To the Isle, it had the monotones, Who Wrote the Book of Love. This was another door that opened up to me. And I think because of my musical background stemming from my father's taste, I didn't say, oh, that's old music. I don't like it. I was so curious about it. I fell in love with it. And years later, I'm fast forwarding through this for the sake of economy of time. I lived in New Orleans that this place had like a 5-story record store. I
Yeah.
spent hours in there.
I've
Every
been
floor
to it. I've been
had
to
a,
it.
the one near Metairie in Metairie.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if it's still there. What was it called?
Uh, I
Do
want to
you
say
remember?
Empire, but that's not it.
It,
Um,
it,
I don't remember. I really
it
don't.
was a little nondescript 3 or 4 story building, and it was just wall to wall vinyl. They
Yep.
talk about the new car smell. It had that old record smell. It was wonderful. It was pungent. It added to the experience of shopping. And I'd walk out of there with 45s. And we spent, everybody else was out partying. I was in the record store with a couple of friends. So I continued to discover the genre of music and appreciate it. And like you, I also had a large vinyl collection. But you know what? With the advent of the CD, Michael, I got tired of cleaning my records.
Yeah.
No matter how much I brushed them or sprayed de-static, I couldn't stand the crackles. I know now that for some vinyl collectors, crackles and pops are kind of nostalgic because
Yep.
that's the way they heard the records.
Hmm.
And, I'm not difficult, but I like I prefer a cleaner sound if I can get it. So I opted for CDs because a lot of my favorite music sounded better on CD. Storage wise, capacity wise, it was superior in every way. And you really don't have to I don't know if you can see on the camera. I got a lot of CDs on there. You don't
Yeah.
have to babysit CDs. With minimal care, they'll last a lifetime. My oldest CD is from 1986. Plays like new. And unless you buy one that's made poorly, for the most part, they'll last you the rest of your life. And
Exactly. Well,
you can
something
heirloom.
I would like to mention to you
Yeah.
is that I was in a conversation last week. Was it last week or week before?
Hmm.
with a person whose name I won't mention because I don't like name droppers, but is involved heavily in the music game. And
Okay.
we were talking about Beach Music TV, and he wanted to know how it was going. And I said, we've gotten to the point that we're going to start looking for some advertisers because we haven't actively pursued advertisers yet. And
Yes, sir.
he said, my problem, this guy is huge into radio. And he says, what I have discovered in the past year is that our numbers are falling on terrestrial radio that my corporations, and he's involved in several major corporations, own. And I'm going, well, why is that? He said, because of you guys. And I said, Beach Music TV? He said, no, because it's on the internet. Streaming is hurting terrestrial radio
Oh yeah.
because terrestrial radio is canned stuff. And internet radio is, as you have just said, is spontaneous. And you continue to put that forward in your show. And with that, I've got to cut this short because we got about 2 or 3 minutes left. Yeah. And I want to give you the opportunity to close this the way you would like to close it. So, what do you have to say to our viewers?
Wow, that's open-ended. I've never been short for words, but I'll do my best here, Mike. Um, to our listeners, I say, if I hope you're enjoying what we're doing on Beach Music TV. I can only speak for myself, and it sounds very self-serving, me, me, me. So I hope I don't come across that way, but I'm very excited about this project because it is a very new phenomenon for me to video. I'll call it video casting for the sake of this interview. Uh, it's really a special place to be. It is a privilege to do this. And as a music lover, it gives me an opportunity to produce. By produce means put the playlist together, create a presentation that's suitable to the music that I'm presenting. And I want to say one more thing about this wonderful internet opportunity we have. We all come from different parts of the country. Some of the records you heard in your part of the country, Mike, maybe I never had a chance to
Mhm.
hear.
That's
So when you
exactly right.
bring all these talents together and we have people from Africa and Australia broadcasting on Beach Music TV, you're going to get a little bit of every world. And you're definitely going to hear music, artists, themes that you've never experienced before. So every day is a new product on Beach Music TV. And I'm so proud to be part of this because this is the new radio. You're right. The internet radio, if you're not streaming and paying for that, the internet radio is the place to get something that is, I'll call it defiantly and wonderfully different. And I hope people understand that that is what we're trying to accomplish. And I hope it's a place they like to be. It's a universe all unto itself. It really is.
Thank you, Alex, and may God bless you in the future. That I could not say better. I consider myself somewhat of a wordsmith, but you humble me with what you've just
Oh,
said. That's very well.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Checks in the mail.